G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Today is Tuesday, the 7th of August 2018, and the time here is 09:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Well folks, look, I've got to apologise for not posting. It has been an absolute madhouse here with family visiting, and the second problem, and there's been nowhere for me to actually record, and there's always been someone here, so it's been a bloody hassle. And the second thing is that I am 100% being attacked at the moment. My internet is spasmodic at best, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. Just so you guys know, a 15-minute video takes me over 6 hours to download at the moment, and that's consecutively every single day. Yesterday I had no internet at all, even though no one could tell me why, and this has been happening off and on ever since okay, this is a conspiracy nutting me. Ever since I've spoken to certain people via email recently, everything has gone to shit on my computer and my internet, mainly my internet. My service has gone absolutely down the tubes, to the point where I just about can't even bloody use it. And I don't even, it's so frustrating, I don't even bloody try. But anyway, as you all know, plenty going on again in the world. The world's a rat hole and a shithole at best. And things are things getting better? Don't know, don't think so. I've got a couple of things I want to show you guys. And this is, once again, this is mainly for the Australian audience. And this is going to infuriate the shit out of you. This is how crazy things have gotten here, folks. And how stupid things are getting in the world. In Australia, the nurses are now being asked to... I don't even know how to say this. Nurses are being asked to explain to people their privilege of being white. So if they're dealing with anybody who's Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander or anyone who's black, they have to explain to them that they're not the term white privilege. It's absolutely crazy, folks. They're actually expecting people to actually say this as they're treating people. Racist to its core, outrageous nurses are subject to new code where they must announce their white privilege before treating Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander patients. Can you believe this shit? Australian nurses and midwives are being forced to announce their white privilege before treating Indigenous and Torres Strait Islander patients, a move which has been slammed as racist to the core. The term white privilege defines the unearned social and cultural advantages awarded to people with white skin, which are not enjoyed by people of colour or non-white backgrounds. Look, I don't know who it was that invented this, but you are categorically an absolute dickhead. There's no two ways about it. Now, you know when I keep saying to you people, if we don't do something about this now, what are our kids going to grow up? What sort of society are our kids going to grow up into? And this is a prime example of that society. They'll have debt burdens, they'll have, you'll have a yoke around your neck, especially if you're white. And that may sound stupid to say that. If you're watching this show and you're black, brown, yellow, for want of a better term, then I ain't apologising to anyone for being friggin' white. And I don't expect anyone who's black, brown, or yellow to apologise to me for the colour of their skin either. The sanctimonious crap that these people go on with is just ludicrous. You can't cherry pick colours, folks. It's unbelievable. You can't say to someone, oh, just because you're white, That's ridiculous. I'm pretty sure I've got the same amount of bills and problems and debts and, friggin' everything else as everyone else has. And it's not because I'm white. If you really want me to be honest, there's a bunch of lazy black people running around, but there's also a bunch of lazy, no hope and white people running around as well. And they're both as bad as each other. And to be honest with you, I'd be happy if we got them all on a boat and shipped them out in the middle of the ocean and sank. But then again, that's just me. Infuriates the shit out of me how people think that, we can be white privilege and we can be black privilege and we can... No, you can't. You're just a bloody person like the rest of us, and stop carrying on about it because you're a bloody idiot. And if you're a nurse and you've got this, it'd be good to hear from you. And it'd be good for you to stand up and say, piss off. I'd love to see videos on it. Piss off. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Well, look, the next thing I want to go over is, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I showed you a chart that had the data on it that said we happily give away $6 billion every year plus. So if it's 6 billion documented, it's about 12 billion really, or 20 billion, whatever they decide to just throw out like confetti into the friggin' wind, to Pacific nations, when we have farmers here who are living through the most horrific drought ever recorded. Haven't seen rain now for 7 years or something. And I've got some experience of this because when I was in my teens, I grew up in Tamworth in New South Wales. And it didn't rain for 7 or 8 years, I think it was. And in the interim, they built a dam called Chaffey Dam outside of Tamworth near Nundle. And that dam filled up overnight when we finally did get the rains. And that's a documented fact. You can actually read about it. The friggin' thing filled up in one night. That's how bad the rain was when it came. Then it proceeded to wash half the town away as well. So, give and take, I guess. We went from being one of the best productive farming lands, the New England region, bottom of the New England region, to just an arid desert for years and years. Couldn't wash your cars. Look, this went on for years. So I have some sympathy for the people that are living in that environment. It's not helped by the government. And all of us, as an Australian, all of us should do something for these guys. And I'm quite happy to listen to any comments about organising something, getting something together. But honestly, these guys are going through hell and back. And the number one reason now that it's only being brought out, and do you know why? Is because of the Royal Commission that's going on. And they're realising just how bad the banks are treating these farms. And it can't be hidden anymore. And folks, if you look at what's going on in South Africa, where the blacks are going to kick the whites off the farms, that's a whole nother story. We've got banks here that are kicking white farmers off the farms. Literally, just every day, just kicking them off and then selling it to the Chinese or to the highest bidder so they can get them some of their money back or whatever. And they're selling these farms at a massive loss as well, by the way. Not even meeting, even halfway near reserve. So what's the logic in that? It's ludicrous at best. And this has all come out. And now the government's gone, oh my God, we must help the farmers. And all of a sudden the government's got into the banks and said, you can't keep doing this to the farmers, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, you're a bit friggin' late, guys. As per usual, you parasitic, bloody, blood-sucking morons. While everyone's dead and dying and their farms have, gone to shit, yeah, then the politicians get involved. I don't know why we put up with this, folks. I really don't. And here you go, folks. This is one of the things that, look, there's two ways to think about this. Either Malcolm Turnbull's a sickening turd, or good on him for finally getting his ass out there to actually see what's going on around the world. And, they've actually started giving these guys debt repayment money, so they can actually afford to live and stop going bust. And actually, some of these guys are killing themselves and their families and stuff. It's just ridiculous. And now, after all this time, the government's finally realised that this is a massive crisis, and we better get out there and have a look around, and we better stop the banks from ripping the farmers off, and we better stop this. Too late, fellas. This has been going on for years. You all knew it, and you're all as guilty as each other. You're as guilty as each other. Doesn't matter what party you're from. You've sat back for years and watched these people deteriorate in the inland of Australia. You want to know what the sickening thing about this is, folks? And this is going to make you sick. Australia is sitting on top of the world's biggest aquifer. Pure water aquifer. It sits underneath all these places that you're looking at in the droughts. And by law, no one's allowed to tap into it. They could have tapped into this, driven holes down there, pumped the water out, and you could literally have inland paradise. And the other thing is, it never drains. It's always going to be full. But for some stupid reason, we've got farmers sitting there with no water, with the world's biggest aquifer sitting right underneath their asses, and they're not allowed to drill for it. And you just have to ask yourself, what logic is that? That is just dumb. This is true. You can actually find out about it. Look up world's biggest aquifer, and it actually encompasses 2/3 of the eastern coast of Australia. It's that big. Sits underneath the land. Sits underneath all that land. But no, you can't tap into it because that belongs to the government. We're not allowed to tap into it. Absolutely moronic. All right, folks, listen. I'm going to show you something on Australian mortgages. But what I want to say first is, a couple of weeks ago I did a video where I actually highlighted the fact that the banks have been willy-nilly lending to money to people here in Australia, basically to bolster their turnover and bolster their figures and meet KPIs and look after shareholders. Well, that mad scheme of doing things is actually really coming back to bite them on the arse, because the Banking Royal Commission here in Australia has highlighted that we actually have a problem where everybody's houses are about, because of this turnover thing that they're doing at these banks to try and get 21, 22-year-old people in to get a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, brand spanking new house, is actually gone way beyond where anyone even thought it was going to go. And because of that turnover that the banks are getting, it's corrupted the figures to as much as 50%. So what I'm trying to say is that the house prices in Australia have the potential in next year to drop to 50%. Or drop by 50%. And as I've always said, somewhere along the line you have to pay the piper. Now let me show you this article which was sent to me by Stroppy, a good mate of mine. It was in Zero Hedge. This is a bit slow behind because this actually came out at least 8 weeks ago in the Banking Royal Commission. It's our version of the GFC. Aussies face looming interest-only crisis. Well, it's not anything new that no one didn't know. And the banks are absolutely shitting themselves. And not only that, if you remember my video, I said the Australian government, more than anybody, is shitting themselves because somewhere along the line, this is going to come back to bite them on the arse. And the lending practices of the banks has come under scrutiny because of the Royal Commission. The Banking Royal Commission. So they're going to have to go back to normal banking lending procedures when this Royal Commission is finished. And that was highlighted. Treat this as a warning, because there's been 3 now, and this is the 4th one that I remember, where the government and the banks have actually said that they will have to go back to normal lending procedures after the Banking Royal Commission. Now what that means is that there's obviously not going to be this massive turnover of money, and there's not going to be a massive turnover of houses, obviously, and there's not going to be anyone to buy houses. Excuse me. So what's going to happen is house prices are going to go off a cliff real quick, and that's starting to happen now because the banks have gotten wind of what's coming and they've cut back their lending procedures already. both commercial and domestic. That's why there's empty office blocks around the country. That's why there's now starting to be a massive rent problem in Australia. You know, how masses of houses for rent. That's why no one's buying houses. And to weigh into that, the Chinese have been told they can't buy here anymore. So there is a massive drop in house prices. There's going to be a crash like we've never seen before, folks. You thought the one in the 1980s was bad. Late 80s, early 90s. You wait till you see what's coming this time. Because they've done exactly the same as the 2008 GFC, except we're a country of 23 million and they've absolutely gutted the market. Flooded the market with retail investor loans, etc., etc. So you can't say you weren't warned, because the government's warned you. They've done it twice. The banks warned you twice. The Royal Commission's actually warned everyone. And now this guy on this Zero Hedge article, which I'll leave in the description box. All right, folks, let's do the prayers. Okay, folks, here is the verse of the day. All your words are true. All your righteous laws are eternal. Very true. Okay, folks, and as usual, we'll finish with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. All right, folks, I'll leave it there. I've rambled on enough. Just wanted to let you know that I am in contact with Sean from SGT Report, and I'm hoping to do an interview with him this week. Hoping. Once that interview's done, I'll post it up accordingly. And then I've got a couple of more good interviews to be done in the weeks after that, which I'm lining up now. All right, folks. God bless. Prep out.